Welcome to Dog's Information. Something out of their own fridge into their own dog's bowl. A plain human food. Nothing fancy. Nothing from a shelf. The kind of thing most owners toss in the trash without a second thought. And it quietly fixes a problem you've probably been paying to fix the hard way for months. The shampoos, the pricier kibble, the bottle of supplements that cost more than your own vitamins. Here's the strange part. The people who know these foods best, the vets who feed them to their own dogs at home, almost never mention them to you, not in a rushed 5-minute appointment. So, today we're pulling the whole list into the open. 15 plain foods a vet reaches for on their own dog before anything off a shelf. And I want to be honest with you before we start. You are not a bad owner for not knowing these. Nobody handed you this list. You've been doing your best with the information you were given. And the information you were given came with a price tag attached. Most people watching this have a dog that's still shedding, still scratching, still turning its nose up at the bowl. Not because you haven't tried, because you were pointed at the expensive fix instead of the simple one. And near the end, there's one food that helps with more of these everyday problems than any other on the list. Plus, a 10-second trick with your freezer almost nobody knows. Stay with me for that one. Let's start where most owners feel it first. Number 1. Scrambled eggs. You know the scene, fur on every couch cushion, a dog scratching a little more than usual, a coat that looks thinner than it did a year ago. Most people chase that with shampoo after shampoo, brand after brand. But that kind of shedding is usually a biotin problem. And a plain scrambled egg delivers more biotin than most of the supplements owners pay real money for. No butter, no salt. Just the egg. It's the fix vets quietly use on their own shedding dogs before they ever reach for a bottle. And the whole secret is in how you serve it. A dog that turns its nose up at something new isn't being difficult. It just doesn't recognize what's in the bowl. So mix the egg in warm straight out of the pan right through the kibble until the smell coats every single piece. Now there's nothing left to sniff out and push aside. Owners who spent months on this watch the same dog finish the bowl in under a minute and wonder why nobody told them sooner. That trick, warm it and mix it through, is going to come back again and again. So hold on to it. Number 2. Carrots. There's a dental problem most owners don't catch until the vet points a light at the back teeth. Tartar building up, breath turning sour between cleanings. A carrot is one of the cheapest tools against it. The crunch scrapes plaque off the tooth surface the same way a dental chew does at a fraction of the price. And it's low enough in calories to be safe even for a dog watching its weight. But hand a dog a whole carrot at room temperature and a lot of them treat it like a chew toy. Too much effort and abandon it halfway. Cut it into sticks and freeze it solid instead. The cold turns it into something worth finishing, and the extra resistance means more grinding against the teeth before it's gone. Puppies deep in teething go for the frozen version almost on instinct. Vets suggest this before they'll suggest a bag of dental treats at twice the price. Number 3. Apples. You know, the dog whose breath clears a room before a single word of greeting. Vets hear that complaint constantly. And an apple slice is the fix a lot of them keep in their own kitchen instead of a bottle of breath spray from the pet aisle. The natural acidity helps break down the bacteria behind the smell, and the fiber gives the teeth something to work against on the way down. Seeds and core removed completely since those carry a real risk. But here's the pattern again. Hand over a whole slice, skin on, and a lot of dogs chew it once and leave it half-eaten on the floor. Tough to bother with. Grate it fine into the food instead. Or freeze thin slices until they turn crisp, almost like a chip, and suddenly the same dog that walked away finishes the bowl without pausing. Those first 3 are quick wins you'll see in a week. Now the stakes go up a little because the next few reach problems that keep owners awake. Number 4. Pumpkin. This one's strange because the exact same spoonful fixes 2 opposite problems. A dog with diarrhea gets it, and a dog that hasn't. Gone in 2 days gets the same spoonful because the fiber works both directions depending on what the gut actually needs. The dose is where most people get it wrong. Not a cup, not half a can on a guess. 1 teaspoon folded completely into the food, so the texture disappears and only the smell is left behind. Dropped loose on top. A dog sniffs it once and ignores it, suspicious of anything sitting alone in the bowl, mixed all the way through, it just vanishes into the meal. For a dog with an upset stomach refusing everything else. This is often the one bowl that gets finished and the dog is calm again by morning. No emergency visit required. Number 5. Oatmeal. There's a moment after a dog comes off antibiotics or home from surgery when it can't handle rich food yet, but it still needs to eat. This is the quiet fix vets reach for at home before anything from the pharmacy. Cooked plain in water, no sugar, no cinnamon. It's a soluble fiber gentle enough to coat an upset gut instead of irritating it further. It's often the first solid food handed back after illness before anything richer is allowed. And dogs with a sensitivity to wheat or corn tolerate oats without a problem, which makes it a safety net most food allergy dogs never knew existed. The trick most owners miss is temperature. A cold bowl barely smells like anything to a dog whose appetite is already low. Mix it in warm right before serving and the smell finally cuts through. Number 6 is one I want you to sit with because if you've got an itchy dog, this might be the whole answer. Turkey. Picture the dog that's constantly itchy, ears inflamed, stomach upset. No matter what you change in the bowl, owners spend years on this. Lotions, creams, steroids, one prescription after another. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and the dog is still miserable. And so often, it's not the food itself. It's the protein inside it. Usually chicken, plain cooked turkey, no skin, no bones, no seasoning. It's the protein swap vets reach for. First before any expensive prescription diet because it's lean, easy to digest, and rarely the trigger behind those same symptoms. The problem is a dog used to rich, flavorful meals often treats a bland pile of shredded turkey as beneath it and walks straight past the bowl. So shred it warm and stir in a splash of the broth it was cooked in. And the smell alone erases that hesitation. Within a couple of weeks on turkey alone, a lot of owners watch the itching, the ear infections, the loose stool all quietly clear up. Proof was never about the amount of food, just what was hiding inside it. Now, stay with me because the next half of this list is where it gets heavier. We're about to get into the foods for stiff, aching joints, for the fog that creeps into an older dog's eyes. And right at the end, the one bowl that can get a dog eating again, even after 2 full days of refusing food. Number 7. Sardines. A dog that's slower getting up in the morning, hesitating at the stairs. It used to take 2 at a time. That's inflammation talking. And sardines go straight at it. The omega-3s inside are the exact same thing vets sell separately in a joint supplement bottle, except this version costs less than a coffee and sits in the canned fish aisle. The mistake most owners make is handing over a whole fish and expecting a miracle overnight. Mash one with a fork into a rough paste. Smear it thin across the top of the kibble like a glaze so the smell hits before the dog even lowers its head. No single strong bite to reject. Within a few weeks, coats go glossy, and dogs that limped a little getting up start clearing the stairs without hesitation. Number 8. Bone broth. There's a moment every vet recognizes. An older dog that used to jump into the car now hesitates at the bumper, stiff before it's even fully awake. That's the dog bone broth is built for. It's not just flavor. It's collagen that goes straight to worn joint cartilage. The kind of stiffness that pills alone don't always fix. But pour it cold over kibble and a suspicious dog walks right past it. The smell stays trapped, so freeze it into ice cubes instead. Drop one into the bowl still frozen and let it melt into a warm gravy that pulls a slow-moving dog across the kitchen floor. For a dog that stopped jumping onto the couch, stopped begging for walks. This is often the first thing that gets its energy looking like it did 2 years ago. Vets keep a tray of these cubes in their own freezer. Nobody prints that on a bag of kibble. Number 9. Green beans. This one's for the overweight dog, begging for a second helping 20 minutes after finishing the first. Green beans were built to interrupt exactly that scene, quietly without a prescription diet involved. They're almost pure fiber and water, which means a dog can eat a genuinely large portion and still land under the calories of a small handful of kibble. Some vets privately call it the green bean protocol for weight loss. Hand it over raw and whole, though most dogs either ignore them or crunch once, and spit the rest onto the floor. Steam them soft, chop them small, and mix them straight into the existing food so there's nothing distinct left to sort out and reject. A dog that's been circling the bowl for more starts, settling down for a nap instead. And every pound that comes off is a pound less pressing down on those aching joints. Number 10. Salmon. This one works at both ends of a dog's life. A puppy that seems a little slower to learn than its littermates. An older dog with skin that flakes the second the winter heater comes on. Both point at the same gap, and cooked salmon fills it. The DHA inside supports brain development in the young ones and calms irritated skin in the older ones. That's why vets keep a portion in their own fridge instead of reaching for a fish oil capsule every time. Serve it plain, boneless, skin off, and most dogs go straight for it. But a dog recovering from illness or just picky by nature will ignore a cold filth sitting untouched. Flake it warm off the pan and mix it through so the oil coats every piece instead of pooling in one corner. Within a few weeks, a coat that was flaking starts catching the light again under normal room lighting. Number 11. Blueberries. This one's for the older dog that's a little slower to respond to its name now, a little foggier than it used to be. Vets see that shift constantly. And blueberries are one of the few foods that actually push back against it. The antioxidants fight the kind of cellular damage behind that fog. The same slow process showing up as gray, creeping in around the muzzle dropped loose into a bowl. Though they roll to the bottom and get ignored because most dogs won't dig through kibble for them. So vets skip the bowl entirely and hand them over frozen one at a time straight from the hand. It turns feeding into a moment the dog actually looks forward to. Instead of a meal, it eats on autopilot. Puppies deep in teething go for them instantly. Cold enough to soothe sore gums the way a chew toy would a few times a week. And owners of older dogs start noticing something a little sharper looking back at them. 4 foods left. And these are the heavy hitters, including the one vets guard most closely and the single bowl that can break a 2-day hunger strike. But first, number 12. Watermelon. A dog panting hard on a summer walk, tongue out. Further than usual, a little slower to get up afterward. That's early heat stress. And watermelon is built to head it off before it becomes a real emergency. It's over 90% water, which makes it one of the fastest ways to rehydrate a dog that won't just drink from a bowl after exercise. Seeds and rind removed completely since both cause real problems going down. Hand it over as a soft dripping chunk. A lot of cautious dogs sniff it once and back away, unsure of the texture. Freeze it into small cubes instead, and it becomes an ice treat cold enough to actively lower body temperature while it's being eaten rather than after. Vets keep a tray frozen through the hottest months. For dogs that come in overheated. Number 13. Liver. Every vet has treated a dog that's pale in the gums, sluggish, tired for no reason, low iron, more common than owners realize, and usually missed until it's already bad. Liver is the fastest fix in the fridge, packed with more usable iron than almost anything else a dog can eat. And it's the one smell that overrides even the pickiest dog's refusal to eat at all. Dice it small, sear it 30 seconds so the smell blooms through the whole kitchen. Then, scatter it over a bowl that's been ignored for days. And you watch a dog that's been sniffing and walking away suddenly plant its face in the bowl and not lift it until it's empty. This is also the trick behind a dull, brittle coat catching the light again within a couple of weeks. Vets carry diced liver in their pocket during training. It's just never printed on the bag of food they sell you at checkout. Number 14. Quinoa. This is the one for the dog with a poultry or grain allergy that keeps circling back no matter how many chicken-based diets you try. Vets often reach for quinoa here before recommending an expensive prescription hypoallergenic bag because it's a complete protein on its own, something most grains simply aren't. It also digests slower than rice, keeping an active dog fueled through a longer stretch of the day. Cooked plain in water, though it comes out dry and fluffy, smelling like almost nothing. And a lot of dogs pick at it once and abandon the bowl. So cook it in that same bone broth from earlier instead of plain water. It absorbs real flavor as it cooks. And a dog that ignored the plain version eats the broth-cooked batch like it's a treat. Vets quietly call it the hypoallergenic shortcut. A few dollars instead of triple that for a prescription bag doing roughly the same job. And here we are at the last one. The food I told you helps with more of these everyday problems than any other on the list. Number 15. Cottage cheese. Picture the hardest version of this. An old dog that stopped getting excited about food at all. A dog 3 days after surgery still ignoring the bowl. A dog quietly grieving another pet that's gone from the house and just won't eat. Every vet has faced that exact silence. And cottage cheese breaks it more often than anything else in the clinic. It's gentle on a weak stomach, low enough in fat not to add strain, and it still carries enough protein to hold onto muscle while the body is busy healing. Served cold, straight from the fridge, the way most of us default to. It barely registers, but warm, it just slightly first, and the smell wakes up enough to cut through an appetite that's completely shut down. Vets have watched dogs that hadn't eaten in 2 full days lift their head for this exact bowl. Ears up, suddenly interested in the world again. It's sitting in your fridge right now. And it's the one most of them only mention quietly, onion one, never in a rushed appointment because it's not a prescription. It's just food served with a little care. At the moment, a dog needs it most. So, here's the uncomfortable math. 15 foods your own vet very likely uses at home on their own dogs. And if you're honest with yourself, how many of these were you actually doing before today? If the answer is 0, that is not embarrassing. Nobody handed you this list before now. That was never your failing. It was just a gap. A gap between what the people who know keep in their own kitchen and what actually gets said out loud in a 5-minute appointment. But you have the list now. And the beautiful part is that none of it lives behind a counter or a prescription pad. It's eggs and carrots and a spoon of pumpkin. It's already in your kitchen, and now it's in your hands. Just bring anything new in slowly, a little at a time. And if your dog is already dealing with a health condition, run it by your vet first because every dog is a little different. You get to be the one who knows what's going into your dog's body. And why. One last thing. Before you go, and it's the 10-second trick I promised you. Take an ice cube tray tonight and fill it. Bone broth in some cups, a few blueberries in others, small chunks of watermelon in the rest. Freeze it. Pop the cubes into a freezer bag and you've got a ready-made version of half this list waiting whenever your dog needs it. No cooking on the night. No fuss. Just drop one in the bowl and let it melt. That single tray turns all of this from a someday plan into something you can start the moment you close this video. So tell me down in the comments which one are you trying first? And if you want the actual weekly rotation, which of these pair together, on which days, and how much for your dog size, just comment the word rotation. I'll pin it right below for you. Your dog doesn't need the most expensive bag on the shelf. It needs you paying attention with a warm bowl and a little bit of love. Thanks for watching and like and subscribe, share please.